previous one that you...
I won't.
We just delete that.
Recording has started.
All right.
Episode 401. This is actually our second try.
It's
the
take
first
two.
one, the first one sucked, and we'll see if this one sees the light of day. Because, man,
we got to get you a clapboard, Alan. You know,
I know.
Take two.
Yeah. Two.
Yeah. Anyway.
So nothing happened this week, right?
No.
What got canceled this week?
Fuck.
That's what we need. Wheel of cancellation.
Wheel of
What is too offensive to our tender sensibilities this week?
Well, they passed that so-called COVID stimulus that like only a tiny fraction of it is actually like money to people. The rest of it goes to like Democrat cronies.
Right.
It's 1.9 trillion.
Yeah.
And as someone pointed out, the 1,400 per 300 million Americans works out to a significantly smaller number than 1.9 trillion.
Right. I'm sure, just like the last one, I'm sure there are countries that got more money than Americans.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's how it works.
I just love I love how nothing is the president's fault anymore. You know, we went from 4 years of literally everything bad is the president's fault to literally nothing is the fault of the president. I don't know. Gas prices went up $1. Well, that's clearly the weather. Oh, it has nothing to do with the president.
Yeah.
I mean, it's infuriating and predictable, but it's interesting to know, you know.
Well, they came out, they've been doing a lot of post-mortem on the Texas freeze. And there's basically two root causes. One is the inability to the point of incompetence, I would say, of the electric utility, the grid manager, to forecast the demands of the electricity. They were warned and they ignored it.
Was it Nortec? Was that
ERCOT?
Yeah, it was some weird acronym.
Yeah, it's ERCOT. That's the
like
Texas
Epcot.
Grid Manager. Yeah.
But Disney would have done a better job, although they would have canceled you.
But the main reason, even if they'd been able to plan for it, they still would have had to do brownouts because the wind and solar that comprises 25% of Texas power generation. I had no idea. Completely fell off the line.
Yeah. But you're forgetting the single biggest reason, Alan. The single biggest reason for all the problems in Texas was Ted Cruz going to Cancun.
Right. Well, yeah. But so and part of the reason that wind is such a big piece of it is because, and this makes no sense to people in other parts of the country, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to people in Texas, but this is the way the Texas grid operates. It is a standalone grid that's not connected to anything else, which is great when it works. The problem is they went through this privatization boondoggle a long time ago. And so every power plant is its own standalone company that feeds power into the grid. The grid manager, ERCOT, manages the grid, but there are distribution companies that own and manage the wires that go to your house. The companies that own and manage the wires that go to your house get a guaranteed 10% return on all capital investment that they spend to build the network. So what do? They build that fucking network because every dollar of capital they put in, they get a guaranteed 10% return from the state. I mean, that's guaranteed, built in. So, I mean, shit, where are you going to get a guaranteed 10% return? The power companies, however, each little standalone power generation unit, which is its own separate company, they're totally on their own. They get no guaranteed nothing. And so the problem is that the windmills get a subsidy. So with the subsidy, and the windmills also don't have to have to provide any backup power. So if they don't run, well, they don't run. Oh well, because they're not required to purchase. They're not required to purchase. Insurance with these other gas plants or anything like that. So nobody's building coal plants. Nobody's building nuclear plants. Nobody's building gas plants because it's more expensive to do that than it is to build windmill with the subsidy. So 25% of the generating capacity went offline. A lot of the ERCOT a couple of weeks ago had told another 20% of the gas plants that they could go offline for yearly maintenance because they weren't anticipating any, because typically February, March is not a big electric draw for Texas.
It's pre-air conditioner season.
Right. And so those plants were all offline. And when they go into a shutdown maintenance mode like that, they can't just start them back up again it takes weeks. This
is not your furnace where you just go flip the switch and it's back on and
so if those windmills hadn't been there and that power had been generated by a nuclear plant or a coal plant or even a gas plant, then Texas wouldn't have had any problem.
Right.
It was that sudden collapse in 25% of the generation capacity. Couldn't handle it.
Where does de-icing the windmills with diesel-powered helicopters come in? That's my favorite.
I don't know.
It's like one of the best images out of Texas was just this giant helicopter spraying de-icer on the windmill.
And let's ignore the environmental damage that de-icer sprayed in a field does.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Those windmills run on sunshine. Oh, yeah. Wait.
Oh, there goes Joe. He's tottering off. He's done with his speech. He's tottering off back down the red carpet.
I wonder if they have women with nice hair off the wings that they kind of push to Joe. Like, come on, come to us. Look.
He kind of reminds me of that Chauncey Gardner from that movie.
Oh, no. Chauncey Gardner was more
except he's
capable,
not that smart. Yeah, Chauncey Gardner is a lot more capable.
I was going to say, I think, Charlie from Flowers from Algernon would be more capable.
Did you see the recent video? And it just came out, I think it was this week. Yeah, it was this week. Biden was visiting some sort of hardware store. Did you see this video?
No, I didn't.
No.
Tell us.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to look it up. But Biden's visiting a hardware store that benefited from him. Sorry, we're having cat thing.
Ooh, cats! Drink.
Hardware. Anyway, the hardware store benefited from Joe Biden extending the small business, blah, 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 whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
right.
Joe Biden extended the, what is it, PPP something loan, something that, that thing. Anyway, so this is another case where, his handlers tried him out into the public, had Joe Biden, they prop him up, they bring him out, and they show him to the public and say, look, here's Joe Biden. He's being the president. He's doing stuff. He's upright and mobile and speaking.
It's a good
day. And this is, yay, Joe Biden. But they always are, it's always like during the day, right? So this is what they do instead of press conferences.
Right.
They don't let him do press conferences because they know that he can't do them. And so they orchestrate these appearances where, they show him to the public and the public looks at the TV and says, oh, okay, great. And yay, Joe Biden, he's being the president. Okay, change the channel. I mean, that's literally what it is, right? That's what they're doing. So, but he went to this hardware store this week. And first of all, okay, The dude has been vaccinated for months now.
Right.
Months.
But they didn't have
They're
vaccines
double
when he took
masking
office.
him. Right. They're double masking him.
That's to prevent the dung
He's like-
from leaking out.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. It's just insanity. So they're double masking him. They have him in this hardware store. He's like kind of standing there, and you know, it's a hardware store, and he's wearing like a full suit, and he's got his masks on, and he's kind of boop 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 boop, you know, and at the end of this thing, like the press starts bombarding him with questions. Mr. President, blah 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 blah, like rapid fire questions, and you could see him short circuit, like literally short circuit. Like he's like,
Wow.
what do I do? What do I do? And he's like looking around. Look up the video. It's painful. And so the press is, I mean, they're starting to ask, like, I mean, legitimately, they're starting to ask questions about like what's going on at the border. Like, is there a crisis at the border? There's a shit ton of kids that you're holding over the time that it's legal. That, I mean, okay. They talked about Trump with his kids in cages.
Right.
This is 3 times worse. And the Biden administration is holding these kids longer than it is legal to hold them in the same facilities that, you know, Trump
for their
puts the cages.
safety.
Anyway, so whatever. Anyway,
they're not cages. They're
like,
they're
I'm not gonna say I care so much about these kids in cages, because honestly, I do not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. I mean, it's sad and, you know, whatever, and it's terrible, but whatever.
Right.
But
The kids
Joe
don't
Biden,
care.
like, this hardware store appearance is just wow. It's frightening. This is the leader of the free world here. This is our commander in chief. It's really scary. And then, of course, as soon as the press starts, you know, hammering with questions, and he kind of short circuits, and he's looking around like, what the fuck do I do? And where am I? And who am I? And what's going on? Then his handlers or his, you know, whomever starts hustling the press out. You can hear them like, okay, press, time to go. Like they're hustling them out of the scene.
Wow.
And it's just, wow. It is a wow.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it's frightening. It is frightening.
The really frightening thing is he puts up with it.
He is
half the time.
But that's what I mean, though. He's not. I mean, imagine a normal person, right? Imagine a normal person. You're the president of the U.S. and you're letting somebody else tell you what to do. No, you're not. It's crazy.
He hasn't poked anyone in the chest in months.
That's because they hadn't let anybody near him.
Yeah.
You know? He hasn't told anyone that he doesn't work for them.
Just think, I think on a certain level, he is aware of his role in the whole scheme of things. I don't know, man. Like,
what I find
weird.
What I find most interesting / telling is that we were treated for 4 years to an uninterrupted stream of armchair psychologists who, you know, Trump has anger issues, and Trump has this, and Trump has that. Meanwhile, you got Joe Biden, who's like, essentially, he has to be stopped so he doesn't wander into traffic.
Right.
And the press is all like,
yeah. Where are all the psychologists analyzing the president?
Morning, Trump puts a typo out, and covfefe is a thing for years. Joe Biden's like,
Biden doesn't even know what the internet is.
He's out there trying to take questions at an event that wasn't a question and answer event, and they're all like, "Oh, look, he's alive. We don't know what more you want, but he's alive.
He's going to start, when he does one of those, he's going to start holding up a newspaper with the day's date on it.
And a mirror to put under his
Oh my
nose.
God.
Proof of life. Joe Biden,
Yeah.
proof of life.
Proof of life. Yeah.
Fog.
Today's newspaper.
General
This
Francisco
is a good
Franco
example
is still dead.
of the press, Biden versus Trump, the press. Imagine, if you will, if Trump had a dog that bit one of the security people
Oh, yeah.
and was sent away.
Yep.
Imagine
The end
if
of the world.
that happened.
They went crazy
Oh my God.
over Trump wanting, after he recovered from COVID,
Yeah.
wanting to
Mhm.
drive around the facility. He's putting all those agents at risk. Grrr.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
But yeah,
double standards.
hey, standards are good. Double
just
standards are
isn't-
twice as good. They're double plus good. Get used
I
to
mean-
that, kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, multiply this sort of media cover up for Biden with the censorship that's going on just generally.
It's crazy.
And it's just, it is crazy. And I keep seeing a meme thrown around of, show me when the good guys were the ones banning books.
Yeah.
And burning books.
Yeah.
Show me, and it,
Right. It's like that movie clip. Are we the baddies?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
yeah.
You
are.
Go back to the late 1980s. Okay. Parents Music Research Council. And there's something that faded into obscurity because that was Tipper Gore. Al
Democrat.
Gore.
Democrat.
And you united Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, John Denver, and Frank Zappa.
Yep.
Okay,
Oh
you
my God.
you literally could not get three. And yes, there were many other musicians and whatnot, but the three that stand out and gave very smart, articulate speeches for free speech.
Yeah.
Right.
United against, we're going to label records.
Right.
So that, and
they weren't
We've
even going to
gone
ban them.
from
They were
that
just going to
to-
they were just going to rate them like the movies.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. The warning labels.
Right.
They put the warning labels on the records, and they gave speeches. Again, John.
They still
Denver,
do that,
Frank,
by the way.
Yeah. And I
still do
very
that.
distinctly remember a Calvin and Hobbes, where Calvin comes in with one of the records, like literally an album, and it's got the parents, the advisory thing on it, and he's like, No, I just bought it so mom and dad would see it lying around and freak out. I'm not listening to this. And he throws the actual album away.
Nice.
Leaves the cover. And, Two Live Crew.
Yep.
That as nasty as they want to be. And it was awful, execrable music. Music. But because they were, they was controversial, it was
Right.
kind of set it absolutely didn't start. I don't know where it started. I think Elvis,
No, it's gone on. No, it's gone on for there's been that sort of prudish censorship telling people what they should and shouldn't be doing. That's an old thing that's been part of America like since before the beginning. Look at the Pilgrims at Plymouth. They're just a bunch of busybodies that want to tell everybody how to live. That's that New England moralistic thing.
You mean like with masks?
Yes, exactly.
It's
I don't think it's a purely American thing, though.
No, it's
I don't
not.
think that impulse is purely American.
But that's where it comes from.
I think it's generational. It's like, or like I think of art history and I think of the paintings that were so scandalous that they couldn't put them in like exhibitions because they were so scandalous at the time. And you look at them now and they're like masterpieces, right? But at the time, oh no, like women would faint if they saw them, you know.
Well, yeah.
So I think I think that's human nature. I don't think it's a purely American thing.
But,
I don't think it's a music thing either. I think it's
yeah,
you know,
it's a culture thing.
A human impulse of yeah.
It's also related to that whole thing that you and I've talked about before about the, you know, you gotta keep escalating the risque piece of it, right? You know, it's not
sure.
It's always got to change. So what was risque before is boring, and so it's got to be different. So there's always, you know, and it's risk, you know, it was risque to have short skirts. Now it's risque to have long skirts. And I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just whatever's going against the, you know, what's normal at the time.
Thing. Yeah.
Well, take profanity on television.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know, there's exactly what you're saying. It's got to go there. There was a time when you couldn't say hell. You couldn't say damn.
Right.
That was like, oh, no. And then it was like, well, it can be part of prime time. And then, you know, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to say shit on television, at least in prime time. And it's just this constant change. Yeah. I
haven't watched that kind of television in so long. I don't even know. Yeah, they used to have this rule about it had to be like after 8 or something like that for the spicy language, because apparently supposedly the kids were in bed. The kids were not in bed.
They were not able. I mean, the thing is, the internet has pretty much blown that to hell. Right. You know, you can watch any YouTube video you want.
Well,
But getting back to the Parents Music Research Council, it's you united pretty much the entire entertainment world into saying the government has no business putting labels on records and telling people like, well, don't listen to this. And we've gone from that in just a generation to, you know, please protect us from ourselves. Oh, this comes from a time period where things were different, so it must be banned and it must be labeled. And if you don't put a label on it, something's wrong.
Yep.
And why do we need to have labels? I mean, does anybody honestly think that watching Pepe Le Pew is going to make kids into rapists? I mean, is that the progression we think?
No, that's not what it's about at all. That's not that's the excuse. That's not the reason.
Right.
The reason is gaslighting. The reason is to get you to question your beliefs and your childhood foundational values.
America has always been horrible.
Right. That's the point of it. It has nothing to do with Pepe Le Pew. Actually, it's just an excuse. It could have been anything, and it will be anything. I mean, you know, it's the Dr. Seuss books. It's the Cat in the Hat. It's you know, there's always going to be something else because they have to ratchet the fucking with your brain.
Yeah.
To try to destroy the moral foundations that you were raised with.
I was trying to do like Pulp Fiction. You know, there was, oh God, and this is bugging me. There was at least, would you give a man a foot massage? I mean, there's so much in that movie that you couldn't get away with today.
Right.
You know, and it's interesting that it was edgy when it came out in the 90s, and it's gone complete full circle, because there was a time when it was like, oh, that's quaint, it's such a cute 90s movie, and now it's like, oh my God, there's, you know, whatever we're outraged about this week.
Right.
And I think you got a great point, Alan. The idea is that, you know, America's always been horrible.
Right.
You know, and things have always been terrible. there's always been the systemic racism and the systemic sexism, and it's been terrible. And
Right.
we're just an awful, awful, awful place that, as Ted Cruz said, you go down to Miami, the boats are only coming one way from Cuba.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you have to pair that with that Democrat soft, that racism of low expectations.
Soft bigotry of low expectations.
Of course, those other countries are awful. What do you expect? Look at who they are.
They don't know any better.
Right. Meanwhile, the U.S. is awful because, reasons.
Yeah, because we don't have 17 different bathroom doors.
Right. And there's never a solution. Right?
Tell someone from Rwanda that race relations are bad in the U.S.
Right.
If they don't punch you, they'll be too busy laughing.
But there's never a solution. You go, okay, so what would shut you up? What do you want? There isn't anything.
Of course there is, Alan. Ask Coca-Cola. They got it. Be less white.
Yeah, but
here's the thing.
What they want.
Imagine any company telling its employees to be less black. Can you imagine them existing more than, 10, 15 seconds after that?
Oh, as a black person, I take offense at that.
The outrage would be deafening. If you had a corporate memo that came out and said, we need to be less black. They would shit little baby birds live on television.
It would never happen, Jay.
Right.
Never.
But if it's not okay one way, why is it okay the other?
Because.
Again, there's piss Christ. There's no piss Muhammad.
It's like that. It is exactly that prescient scene in 1984.
Where the girl throws the hammer through the screen?
No.
Oh, wait.
In 1984, where they're asking, what's his name? What's 2 + 2? And it's not tell me 5 just to shut me up. It's not tell me 5 because you think it's what I want to hear. It's 5 because that's what the state says it is.
And you have to believe it.
And you have to believe it and not question it. And that's what all this is about. Yeah. It's not about Pepe Le Pew. It's not about America's awful. It's not about there is literally nothing you can do that will shut them up and make them happy, because that's not what it's about.
Right.
Who was that? The ex-KGB guy who did that interview, and it's all over the internet. I can't remember his name.
That guy.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I think his name started with a G or something.
And didn't ski or something, right?
Yeah.
Or Ev or Ov or...
Yeah, but he was talking
he
was talking about the
Googling.
He was talking about how they take over the culture. And
but he was they take over the culture, but one of the things that he was talking about was that once people are Bezmenov, is that his name? Yeah. Bezmenov. It's a fascinating interview. I highly recommend it because it's basically really relevant to what's happening now. He talks about how socialism works, how communism works. And he was saying, and I was reminded of a little part of it this week, of how when a population is indoctrinated and moreover demoralized, you can you can have them believe complete falsehoods and fight you to the death believing that they're true.
Which is exactly what's happening.
And so that's what's happening. I mean, it's like this I don't know. I don't know where even to begin with this. It's, it's the Black Lives Matter thing. It's the hands up, don't shoot thing. It's the climate change thing. It's all the things. And you have a lot of the population who thinks that these things
Drinking
are true.
bleach.
15 days to
Pardon me?
flatten the curve.
Drinking bleach.
Right. Right. Oh,
To
drink bleach
find
to kill
people.
COVID, right? Or
Yeah. Find people. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
All
And so
the- yeah.
and this is what they do. They it's really, everybody just turn off your TV.
Yeah.
Think for yourself, do some research.
Yeah.
And gosh, it's sad, but I follow this Twitter of Biden voters posting their L's online,
I love
and
that one.
so much. I love it, but it's so sad. It's so sad because there's like all these people that are like, oh, Joe Biden isn't doing what I wanted him to do, and where's my check? And wow, what if there was like 40 some years of like hints of what Biden was going to do?
Yep.
Right.
Like literally 4 decades of clues as to his character and what he was going to do as a president.
Right.
But you never bothered to look it up because he promised you $2,000 or whatever the fuck. Like you.
Yep.
And then, hello, didn't come across. Surprise.
But
Yep.
there's no evidence of fraud. So
It's very sad.
You elected a brain dead husk of a man who,
Right.
Jay, will not survive in office.
no, he won't. He
2022.
will not, but he will make 2 years. Or
I don't think so.
they will lead
I
you
don't
to
think so.
believe he made 2 years.
Well, that may happen.
They're going to
Okay.
defake him till 2022.
They will
Yep.
Dr. Jill will Woodrow Wilson him past the 2-year mark.
I bet he doesn't. I bet he doesn't survive in an ability to speak publicly beyond this year.
It doesn't
It's
matter,
that.
Alan. It doesn't.
Really?
You're thinking.
No, it
too
doesn't
small.
matter.
Watch his decline. It's insanely quick.
As soon as he cannot function even for that short amount of time, everything's going to be pre-recorded.
I'm sure they're doing it
And there
now.
will-
Like, here, Joe, stand here and read this.
Right.
And
Right?
they've got enough material to push 2 years. Guaranteed. I absolutely guarantee it, that they can just keep him quiet, happy, out of the way for 2 years, and they're going to ride this, because they're going to ride this into 2022. You've got an election where if they don't do something huge, their side is demoralized because they've had everything for 2 solid years. And if they don't have full-on socialism and a $15,000 a year universal basic income and a $75 an hour minimum wage, and every big company has been chased out of the country and we're paying $95 a gallon of gas, it's a failure.
Yeah.
And 2 years coincidentally gives Kamala Harris 10 years in office, but he becomes the new snowball. See, Joe Biden told us he was going to do these things and he couldn't. Well, it wasn't his fault. See, he was, he had these problems that got worse, and that's why he's going to step down. And it's basically going to be, you step down in 2 years and Kamala takes over, or you're impeached by your own party, or removed under the 25th Amendment by your own party. Because if they take a shellacking in 2022, it's done.
Oh yeah. If they take a shellacking in 2022, and if Biden is still in office, he will step down.
Yeah, well, see, I see it the other way. If they take a shellacking, they'll try to keep him in. They'll weekend at Bernie's him, because they're not going to have Kamala take over. Or you know what? Actually, they will. Because if the Republicans, even if they just take back the Senate, then it becomes, well,
it's their fault.
Exactly. The obstructionist
Right.
Republicans. It goes right back. Why was a government shutdown the GOP Congress's fault under Obama, but Donald Trump's fault when Donald Trump was in office? Why does it change? It's either the president or it's Congress.
Oh, Jay.
Magically.
You know why.
Of course. But again, this gets back to people in the news.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't saying, wait a minute, the last presidency, not even 4 years ago, 2 years ago, you were telling me that it was Congress's fault for the government shutdown and the gridlock.
You're expecting way too much. Like I tell my daughter,
do you think people
Jay,
are even paying attention anymore?
No, they're not paying attention at all.
No, because they've got little distractions like fucking Harry and whatever the fuck her name is.
They'll pay attention in a week before the next election.
No, they won't.
Yeah, they will. They'll pay attention the week before the next election, and then they'll pay attention again the week before the next election, and that's just how it goes. We're the aberration.
That is true.
We're the freaks.
Jay, you brought up Harry and Meghan.
Oh God.
I don't know. I have no love for the British royal family. But
really, Brita, please explain.
It's being Irish American, I got it from both. Anyway, I just like this whole victimhood thing that they have going on is bizarre, really. I mean, if you think about it.
Yes. So this horrible racism that they only gave us a $32 million wedding.
Oh no!
We only get a $13 million stipend.
$52 million.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was a
32
million pound wedding. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
What I have noticed and is very curious is that if you find any fault in anything that Harry and Meghan have done, well, obviously you're for the British crown. What? Huh?
Okay.
How the fuck do you draw that conclusion? Because I think they're entitled.
Or you're racist.
They're entitled little pricks. Yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I am much darker than Meghan Markle. Okay? Plain and simple.
You are actually.
You are. This is me in early March. Okay? Talk to me in July.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, I've experienced racism. Stop.
Yeah.
They made comments wondering what the kids would look like. And guess what? They made those comments before Harry was born too.
Right.
Every parent ever has wondered what the kids are going to look like.
That's common. Also, I distinctly remember when Harry was born and he was a redhead, everybody went, "Ooh, where did that come from?"
Yeah. And
yeah,
I just don't understand this line of thinking that because you find it hard to believe that these spoiled, rotten royals sitting down to talk to multi-billion-dollar Oprah about being oppressed is a little weird.
Yeah.
The other one that really puzzled me, and this was a very liberal friend of mine, was, well, Harry served in Afghanistan. How dare you question him? And I'm like, are you fucking for real? Because I'll bet you don't give Dakota Meyer the same. Dakota Meyer, remember he was dating Bristol Palin, and he's nothing more than trailer trash from the same people.
Right.
Dan Crenshaw, last night.
Yes, but he would curl up in the fetal position if he had to work a double, right? AOC. But I don't get the jump between. They're all horrible people, and I don't care.
Yes, they are.
And you support the royal family.
Well,
no.
Well, I mean, the royal family is horrible too. I mean, It's
Yeah.
only recently that the British royal family, and I'm talking like, 150 years, they used to think the Irish people were not even human. And that was
I'm sure
racism
deep
against
down
other white
inside,
people.
I'm sure deep down inside,
I mean, I'm sure they
Elizabeth
still feel that
thinks
way.
Irish aren't human. Yeah.
They're
She's just not going to say
yeah,
it.
I'm sure they still feel
Yeah.
that way. But like, and I'm sure on a certain level, and I don't want to speak for anybody, and I'm sure they're trying to be good people, but like, I'm sure there's a certain us and them kind of thing going on. Especially like, I mean, she's divorced, she's half black, she's American. Like, wow, 3 strikes, right?
Black.
But is she? Is her mom half? Whatever. Anyway,
But
she's
again,
brown.
it doesn't fucking matter.
But
except
no, it doesn't matter. But the thing that matters is that these very, very privileged people went on television and spoke about how they were so victimized to a billionaire who also, like, in the past has complained of racism. And it's like, it's weird. Like, I guess if Harry and Meghan can be victims, like, anybody can, right?
That's the point.
That's exactly
the point. And it's this whole generational thing. I mean, they're of the generation where, we're all victims and everything is
because
terrible and racism. And
if someone that powerful can be victimized by racism, how can the average person survive without massive government intervention?
Yep.
Right. And we're all so guilty.
Right.
Well,
we're all so guilty.
You know what's funny though is all these people that are like the criminals that are being enabled by the Democrats, and all these these people that with their hands out and all this kind of stuff. Don't they realize they're going to be the first to go if they ever actually get what they want? I mean, if they ever actually get a socialist United States, those people, have they ever seen how those countries treat their criminal underclass? I mean,
well, I think that's part of the thing with socialism is that there's
look at Kamala Harris's record
to what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at
Kamala there's
Harris's
no end,
record.
right? So
she's right. She's always treated them awful. And you're right. There is no end.
There's no end. I mean, they're coming for Dr. Seuss. They're going to come for, they came for, I don't know.
The Muppets.
The Aristocats and the Muppets. And it's going to be never ending. And they're going to eat themselves, once they get done with us.
Right.
It's going to be
they're already doing it. Look, they're going after Cuomo.
Oh, sure. Well, Cuomo. It's interesting that they're going after Cuomo for the sexual assault instead of like murdering people.
There's something going on behind the scenes there. I wonder if he started sniffing his own farts and thought he was going to run in 2024.
I think that's what it is, Jerry.
I guarantee.
I think that's what it is. They're taking him out so he can't compete against the Kamala or whoever.
Because if you remember correctly, like back in September, they were talking about him joining the field.
He had a halo.
Yeah,
right.
He was
Jay, you called him as the candidate. Remember?
I'd heard so much. Yeah.
Yep.
That they were, and they talked about it. They talked about, him joining the race at the 11th hour.
Right.
Yeah.
He was going to be replace Biden or whoever, because, Biden wasn't up for it or whatever. And that was, they were going to draft Cuomo and put him in play.
He got his Emmy and he got, he shows up with his fucking pierced nipples. It's like that should have been a warning sign right there, folks. Okay?
Right. But it wasn't, come on, this woman, this complaints by women have been going on for years.
Yeah.
With him. This is not new. These women have been speaking out for years. This is not new. He
Right.
killed all the old people and nobody gave a shit.
Yep.
It wasn't until he was a contender.
But isn't it interesting that we've got pictures, we've got emails and text, and we've got just this absolute fucking mountain of evidence, and
Now,
yet it's like, oh well, something might have happened. But Brett Kavanaugh's he's a rapist. I mean, I'm sure he's a racist too, but they
Right.
were convinced he was a rapist.
a gang rapist.
Yes, there were gang rapes every week that she kept going back to.
Well, once you've had one, you want more, right?
I'm like, I don't know. If every week I went somewhere and I got mugged, I wouldn't go back the next week. I'm just saying.
If you enjoyed it, you might.
Yeah, but just that you had one person come forward and say this happened. You had every other person vaguely involved being like, no, I don't remember anything like that ever happening. But Brett Kavanaugh's a rapist.
Right.
With Cuomo, it's like, well, these allegations are disturbing, but they are from a long time ago. 2019!
Right.
She's got texts.
Yeah. And now there's 6 of them.
They're up to 6? I mean, again, it doesn't surprise me. There's probably a lot more.
Of course there are. They're just not talking yet.
But you notice like all of the Trump accusers were 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Oh, he touched me inappropriately on a plane.
And they had no evidence at all. There was just it was just their word.
And that was like, oh well, that clinches it in my mind. He's clearly a rapist.
Right.
And now it's like, well, we've got you have the text from Cuomo saying, boy, I'd like to do these awful things to you. And they're like, well, we don't know. Well, we're not sure.
What did he mean by that?
And if Brett Kavanaugh should have removed himself for consideration for the Supreme Court over this one allegation from 3 decades previous with no witnesses.
Yeah, but Jay, come on.
Yes, I know, Alan, but
I have a prediction to make.
What's your
prediction? Nothing will happen to Cuomo.
I was going to say Cuomo's going to win re-election.
He will tuck his tail between his legs. He will tell everybody that's important that he has no intention of running for president. He's happy being the governor. He will deliver New York to whoever the Democratic candidate is, and they don't have to worry about him at all, and he will remain governor and get reelected.
Yep. And that's exactly it. It's a shot across the bow.
Reelected.
To Cuomo that, you will not advance. And if you push things, we will destroy you.
Right.
It's run like a crime syndicate. It really is.
It is.
Well, same thing's gonna happen to Italians.
Cuomo, go figure.
Same thing's going to happen to Newsom.
Go figure.
Suddenly, not more than 5 months ago, signature matching. What's that? Who cares? Signature, count them all. Yep. Suddenly, we've got a recall petitions with almost 2 million names on them in California, and they're going through those signatures with a fine-tooth comb, scrutinizing every single one and throwing them out like crazy. Because suddenly, signatures matter.
Like Amazon going union.
Right.
Oh, no, we can't vote by mail. There's way too much fraud that way.
Yeah. Crazy talk.
Crazy.
We
have a show and tell.
Maybe.
I had a show and tell. What the hell did I do with that? What I did with it, on the other hand, is a good question.
Hang on one second.
I don't have a show and tell. Rita, do you have a show and tell?
Okay. I do, actually. I have a knife. I know, I'm thinking We might run out of knives, and then what do we do?
I will never run out of knives, Brita. We could do
I
a
might.
show.
I don't
We
have
could do a
that
show
many.
a week for the next 7,000 years.
Okay, well, then it will be Jay's show and tell because I might run
I
out of knives eventually.
I have a lot of knives. I'm Italian, Brita. Come on.
I don't even have a good show and tell.
Okay, I have
Go
a
ahead.
really beautiful knife and I don't know how to pronounce this. It's a Japanese company. Does anybody know this company?
I've never.
Kusta?
Is that
Okay.
like couscous?
This was a gift from a friend. It is so beautiful that I can't. It's not a knife I can carry. I mean, I guess I could, but once again, my pockets are not big enough for this knife.
Ooh.
It is
Ooh,
so beautiful.
look at that fancy. What
That's-
kind of wood is that?
Right?
Do we know?
I think it's like bird's eye something, right? It's got
Wow.
little.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, very light.
I haven't even
grooves.
opened it up yet. Yeah, it's a gorgeous knife.
Ooh.
Very smooth
Wow.
and
Damascus.
Ooh.
Is that Damascus or is that like a Damascus pattern?
well, I don't know. It's Japanese. I don't know what they
It
call it.
might be actual Damascus steel, which is awesome.
I judging
know.
by the price of these things, I think it is an actual Damascus type. And it's
I know
it's
what
like
next
one of
week's show and
those.
tell is going to be.
Okay, cool. And it's one of those ones where you have to oil it and stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, that is cool.
it
That
is
is positively.
super
breathtaking.
pretty.
I would not
Love
recommend
it.
carrying it.
No, I mean, like, no. Come on.
Yeah, that's fancy.
Oh, you whip that out.
Excuse me while
It's got a
I
beautiful-
whip this out.
It's got a beautiful, like, very smooth and lovely. So
Looks great.
Why, yes,
yeah,
it's a
super
very
fancy
nice.
knife.
Cool. Do you have
But
something, Jay?
what do they call? What do they call the guns that never leave the safe because they're like so fancy? Safe queens.
Safe Queen.
Safe
Yeah.
Queen. Or barbecue if you were to.
This is kind of a.
Yeah.
This is kind of a
I-
safe queen.
My daughter got me a present for taking her to the mall.
Nice.
It's a little
Aw.
Homer Simpson in a moo Funko Pop keychain.
It kind of looks like you somehow.
It does.
Yeah, the 5 o'clock shadow looks kind of like a mustache given the confines.
Yeah,
of the
it does look
Funko
like
Pop.
a little
I don't have the
Yeah.
Charlie Brown hair though.
cute.
So yes,
Not yet.
I also have a comic book guy.
Ah.
Worst episode ever. So, in addition to all my nerdy little my battle bots, I'm gonna have to dig up a couple of my 118 scale cars for you guys because I've got a Jeep, Alan.
Oh, I do too.
118 scale. Yeah, you've got the 1-to-1 scale.
No, I've got a little one.
I do have
one.
a 118 scale Harley Davidson standard electric ride.
Nice.
So, which is like my exact bike. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. It's in my office at work.
Yeah, I've got I think, I don't know what scale it is, but I've got one that's exactly like my Jeep.
It's about this big. It's about 118 scale.
Nice.
So yeah.
I do not have a show and tell. However,
What?
Yeah.
You're fired. Fired.
I will have one. I will have one next week because it'll
Okay.
be delivered tomorrow.
Oh,
You're getting a COVID vaccine.
No, I ordered. It's a tactical Gladius.
Nice.
oh dear.
I know. I couldn't.
Is
get-
it black, like tactical
It's
black?
black. Right. It's black and it's got the black
Oh my
polymer
God.
handle and it's
Are you kidding?
It's carbon steel, so it's not a stainless steel, because you can't make a sword out of stainless steel. It's an actual functional sword, but it makes no pretense of being period authentic. It's like those double barrel shotguns with a Picatinny rail. I mean, it's so tactical. It's just like, rah!
If it had a bayonet attachment, I would buy 2.
You could probably put one on it, but it's a.
I know people who weld.
It's a gladius. It's a gladius
Wait.
shape.
Wait.
Yeah.
So a bayonet is like a knife on a gun.
Right.
What if you had a little like a little gun on a sword, like a reverse bayonet?
They had those. We actually, there's a display of them in the National Firearms Museum.
Yeah, sword guns.
Yep.
Yeah, they actually do.
Of course they do. That's awesome.
They had one that was an
Great.
axe. It was
Because
like an actual, honest to God,
because once you
tomahawk
fire the
fighting
bullet, you still have something to poke people with.
axe. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more prevalent in the days of black powder.
Right.
Once we got into metallic cartridges,
boy.
it was faster to reload than to bludgeon someone with a not very sharp axe. Attempt to poke them with a not very sharp knife.
So I will show off
funny.
my tactical gladius when
Nice.
on the next week. Something to look forward to.
That is piquing every fiber of my paisan being.
Yeah, there you go. And I was mentioning you probably have a lot of swords, Jay. Given your Renfest thing, so maybe you could do a show and tell of that.
I could do a sword
when you run out of knives.
When the sun burns out and I run out of knives.
Which would you run out of first, knives or guns? If you were doing like one a week.
Probably knives.
Wow.
Just because
stop and think.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like when you think about like pocket knives.
Right.
I
got a box full of those.
Yeah. I've got a couple of boxes. It's, like you don't think you have a lot. Then you're like, actually, this little box right here has 48 knives in them. And when you can buy, I've got pocket knives that I paid, $1 for, $2 for.
Yeah. My shit knives.
Right. Yeah.
They're for opening boxes and doing crap I don't want to ruin a good knife with.
When I've done things like fly into an airport and I wasn't checking luggage, I'll just swing into the local Target and pick up the $20 knife or Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and just pick up a knife to have.
Right.
And then have somebody mail it to me at Christmas. Put it in the box at Christmas. I'll take it back then.
Or just throw it away. I mean, it's like a disposable knife.
Well, you figure you buy a knife for $20 or you check luggage for $30 each way.
Right.
That's a no-brainer.
And then it gets stolen out of your luggage. So, which I've had to happen.
Yeah.
All right, then. So, we're almost up to an hour on the second take.
Part 2. I'm glad we stuck it out.
Yeah. It worked. It turned out better than I expected.
See, turning it off and then turning it back on again worked.
Well, there was still a delay, especially with Brita, but we kind of worked around it. So
I'm sitting right by the Wi-Fi thing. I don't know.
Oh, it's not you.
Same.
It's just the way it is.
I am now touching my modem. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Doesn't matter. Oh, I haven't pointed out my shirt on this take.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
The Ingsoc shirt. For you, those of you who have read 1984 know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, go read 1984 before it's too late.
While you still can.
Yes.
Right.
Before it's wrong. Before it's wrong. Think.
Yeah.
Bad fun.
Although, I don't know, public libraries seem to be kind of holding, they're drawing a line in the sand, I think.
You know
I
why?
keep going to, well, because they're public libraries. And
Because nobody checks out books anymore.
librarians, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Okay.
No,
If
it's
somebody
because
does-
librarians are serious about their mission
Yes, they
to
are.
provide information to anybody who wants it. And it's not up to us. I mean, good librarians, you know, there are shitty
Who?
librarians that will
Wasn't
ban
there-
anything they want, but you know,
wasn't there
it's,
like a god of knowledge? Who was the?
Thoth. Was it Thoth?
Was it?
Thoth? Egyptian god?
I was thinking
Thoth?
more Roman. Yeah, but it was Thoth, the god of wisdom. Apollo is the Olympian god of
I
light,
don't know.
music, poetry, and knowledge. So
Okay.
you're like priestesses of Apollo.
Well,
Not the priests at the Temple of Syrinx.
No.
no.
Or
I
The-
like to think that we're more like warriors, you know.
There you go.
Brita
But it's the
Warrior
thing, you know?
Librarian. I like that. You're going to have to take
Librarian.
Alan's Tactical Gladius, though.
That would be awesome.
Oh boy.
Conan the Librarian.
Yeah.
Wow. We just went from an obscure Rush reference to Weird Al Yankovic's UHF in
Yep.
like less than 2 minutes. That's you gotta
It's
you
good.
gotta have
It's good stuff.
gotta be on your toes here, folks, with the squirrel report.
That's right.
We don't mess around.
It's, squirrels.
Squirrel.
You never know what you're going to get.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
But this has been going on for an hour, and it's time to go.
It's almost 2 minutes. That's it.
And
We're gonna call a lid on tonight's
That's
show.
right. We'll circle back next week.
Yeah.
Circle backy Pasaki. There you go.
All right, everybody.
All
Have
right.
a good one.
Good night, squirrels.
All right.
Good night, everybody. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Because I
to
think
you,
that's
Bree.
on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Green beer is not Irish.
Anyway, 17th. Happy St. Patrick's. No, it is not. Nor is